Hello everyone. Today we'll begin with a new concept of class 11th, a new chapter that is photosynthesis in higher plants. Before we begin with the chapter, we need to know what is the term photosynthesis or what does the term photosynthesis mean. We all know photo here in biology. If we have to say what does it mean, it relates to sunlight. So, what does photosynthesis mean? It is the process by which green plants transform light energy into chemical energy. So, during photosynthesis in green plants, the light energy is captured and used to convert water, carbon dioxide, and other substances like minerals into oxygen and energy rich organic compounds. Okay, so when I have to talk about the first concept of site for photosynthesis, now in plants, photosynthesis takes place in chloroplast, which contain the pigment which is known as chlorophyll, right? So chloroplasts are basically surrounded by a double membrane and contain like an inner membrane as well, which is called thylakoid membrane that forms the long folds within the organelle. So basically, chloroplast is a structure which is a site for photosynthesis, the process by which light energy is converted to chemical energy. And what does it result in? Production of oxygen and energy rich organic structures or compounds. Right? Clear? Now, to be more specific for site of photosynthesis, now a chloroplast as a structure, it basically contains stroma, which is a fluid, grana, which is stacks of thylakoids, right? The inner membrane. Now, the thylakoids contain chlorophyll. Now, chlorophyll is a green pigment that captures light for photosynthesis, correct? Right? So, photosynthesis takes place only in the green parts of the plant, mostly in the leaves. Why? Because there is a presence of what there? Chloroplast, right? So, within a leaf, photosynthesis occurs in mesophyll cells which contain the chloroplast. Chloroplasts are the actual site for photosynthesis. Now, the thylakoids in chloroplasts contain most of the pigments required for capturing solar energy to initiate photosynthesis. The membrane system, which is the granum, is responsible for trapping the light energy and for the synthesis of ATP and NADPH. Now, we all know what is ATP, that is adenosine triphosphate. Now, what is NADPH? Now, NAD is what? Nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. Okay, in the oxidized form, you say it as NAD+, and in the reduced form, you say it as NADH. Okay, and what is NADPH? It is nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide phosphate. In the oxidized form, you would say it as NADP+, and reduced form, you say it as NADPH. Okay, fine. So I hope you know the basic difference, what is NADPH and what is NAD. So I hope you understood what is site for photosynthesis, that is the chloroplast. Correct? Now, let's move to the next topic, that is importance of photosynthesis. The very first and the primary function of photosynthesis is to convert the solar energy into chemical energy, right? And then store that chemical energy for the future use. Okay, so photosynthesis basically helps to maintain a balance between the oxygen and the carbon dioxide which is present in the atmosphere as it absorbs the carbon dioxides and release oxygen. So sunlight is necessary for photosynthesis, but obvious. So thus sun is the ultimate source of energy for all living organism. Okay, so it helps. What is the importance of photosynthesis? Is synthesis of organic compounds, change of radiant energy into chemical energy. Useful products are obtained from plants like what? The gums, oils, etc. They maintain the balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide in atmosphere. Fossil fuels like coal, natural gas, petroleum have been formed inside the earth indirectly as a product of photosynthesis. Okay, so let's move to the next topic. After site of photosynthesis and importance of photosynthesis, the next topic that we have to deal with is Pigments involved in photosynthesis. Now we all know what is pigments, right? It basically gives coloration to a plant. Now when we have to say specifically to a plant, we all know the three pigments that we already studied in the last lectures. Yes or no? Here an important pigment that we need to talk about is chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, xanthophyll and carotenoids. Now when I talk about chlorophyll A, it is bright or blue-green in chromatograph, right? Now you must have performed chromatography technique in your practicals of class 11th, right? There you have distinguished all the colors, all the pigments, chlorophyll B, A, xanthophyll, carotenoids. Yes or no? Yeah. So they are the major pigment, act as a reaction center involved in trapping and converting light into chemical energy. It is also called universal photosynthetic pigment. And the second one is chlorophyll B, which is a yellow-green in color. Xanthophyll, which is yellow. Carotenoids, which is yellow to yellow-orange in color. Okay, so the pigments involved in photosynthesis are what? Chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, xanthophylls and carotenoids. Now we know all the coloration of these pigments, correct? Let's move to the next topic, that is process of photosynthesis. Now this includes two phases. One is known as photochemical phase and the second one is known as biosynthetic phase. Okay, which is also known as light reaction and dark reaction. Now when we have to talk about the first one, that is photochemical phase, that is light reaction. This phase includes light absorption, splitting of water, oxygen release and formation of ATP and NADPH. Right? Now we already came across what is NADPH. Okay, so what is NADPH? We know the full form of it. What is it? It is nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide phosphate. Right? So it is a cofactor which is used to donate electrons and a hydrogen to reaction catalyzed by some enzymes. Fine. And NADPH helps carry the electrons and the protons driven by sunlight into new carbon-carbon compounds. And it also occurs in grana region of chloroplast. Second phase is biosynthetic phase, which is dark reaction. It is light independent phase. Synthesis of food material, that is sugars. And in bracket they have written Kelvin cycle. Now what is Kelvin cycle here? It is a cycle of chemical reactions performed by the plants. Okay, a cycle performed by the plants for the chemical reaction to fix carbon from CO2 into 3 carbon sugars. Okay, what it is? It is a cycle of chemical reaction performed by plants to fix carbon from carbon dioxide into 3 carbon sugars. Now where does this dark reaction occur? It occurs in the stroma region of chloroplast. So we learned about the light reaction and the dark reaction process of photosynthesis. Let's move to the next topic, that is photophosphorylation. Now what is photophosphorylation? It is a conversion of ADP to ATP. Okay, it is a conversion of ADP to ATP using the energy of sunlight. Okay, I repeat, it is a conversion of ADP to ATP. Fine. Adenosine triphosphate we already know. There is also adenosine diphosphate. Okay. Now, so the process of formation of high energy chemicals, that is ATP and NADPH, in presence of light. Now this photophosphorylation is of two types. Now first one is known as cyclic photophosphorylation and the second one is known as non-cyclic photophosphorylation. Now what is non-cyclic photophosphorylation? Here it involves two photosystems, meaning two photosystems work in series. The first PS2 and then PS1. Now what is this PS? It stands for photosystems. Now photosystems are the functional units for photosynthesis, defined by a particular pigment organization and association patterns, whose work is the absorption and transfer of light energy, okay, which suddenly implies a transfer of electrons, basically. Okay, these two photosystems are connected through an electron transport chain, ETC, or the Z scheme that you talk about. Both ATP and NADPH are synthesized by this process. Okay, now we move ahead with the next concept, that is C4 pathway. Now, as you can see, the diagram shown here is the C4 pathway. Fine. Now, the C4 pathway is designed to efficiently fix carbon dioxide at low concentration, and plants that use this pathway are known as C4 plants. So basically this initiates with a molecule which is called as phosphoenol pyruvate. What does it initiates with? Phosphoenol pyruvate. You can see in the diagram given here, which is in short you term it as PEP in capital, which is a 3-carbon molecule. And they yield a 4-carbon molecule which is called oxaloacetic acid. Okay, what do they yield? They yield OAA, that is oxaloacetic acid, which is a 4-carbon molecule. Now, eventually it is converted into another 4-carbon compound known as malic acid. Then later, they are transferred from mesophyll cells to bundle sheet cells. Now, let's go again. How does it initiate? How does the C4 pathway initiate? It initiates with a molecule which is PEP, that is phosphoenol pyruvate, which is a 3-carbon molecule, right? Then they yield a 4-carbon molecule, that is OAA, that is oxaloacetic acid. And then it is converted in another into 4-carbon molecule known as malic acid, right? So this is basically about the C4 pathway. Now, if I have to explain in brief about the C4 pathway, let's go into that detail. Now, C4 plants like, maize, sugarcane have a special type of leaf anatomy. They tolerate higher temperatures. So in this pathway, the oxaloacetic acid is the first stable product formed. It is a 4-carbon atoms compound, hence called the C4 pathway. Or you can also term this cycle as a Hatch and Slack cycle. The leaf has 2 types of cells. One is mesophyll cells and bundle sheath cells. Okay. Initially, CO2 is taken up by phosphoenol pyruvate, as I stated earlier, in mesophyll cell and changed into oxaloacetic acid, that is OAA. Okay, clear? So this is basically the steps involved in the C4 pathway. Now let's move to the law of limiting factors, that is factors affecting photosynthesis. Let's see the first factor, that is light. Rate of photosynthesis increases at low light intensities. At high intensities of light beyond a point, the rate of CO2 fixation decreases. The second is carbon dioxide. Increase in carbon dioxide concentration causes increase in carbon dioxide fixation. It is a major limiting factor for photosynthesis. So the first factor is light. The second factor is carbon dioxide. Now comes the third factor, that is temperature. The rate of photosynthesis at optimum temperature is high. Okay. And the next one is water. It is one of the most important reactant in photosynthesis, but it affects the rate of carbon dioxide fixation. So if you have low water content, it causes the stomata to close and reduces the carbon dioxide availability, because the function of the stomata itself is what? Gaseous exchange, right? So it would reduce the carbon dioxide availability. Fine. So all the 4 factors we learned here in photosynthesis, right? So I hope you understood today's content. Thank you.